When a message comes not from fear but from deep wisdom, it often sounds like a whisper. Don't step outside tomorrow. At first glance, a message might seem alarming or confusing, but upon deeper reflection, it reveals something much more profound. It is not a physical command to remain indoors, rather, it is a spiritual reminder to withdraw from the external noise of the world and return to the sanctuary within. In this fast-paced life, we often move without direction, speak without intention, and react without reflection. This message asks us to stop. Not forever, for a moment, to back before we step forward. Every day we are called out by the world, by its urgency, its opinions, it's endless. They might run toward what we think we need, toward success, validation, distractions, expectations. But rarely do we question, what am I running from? What am I avoiding inside myself? The call to not step outside is an invitation. An invitation to pause the chase and to realign with the part of ourselves that is often drowned by the noise of life. Sometimes, running through the park, the greatest victories are not won by charging ahead but by holding your ground, by listening to your inner guide. Park by recognizing that stillness is not stagnation, it is sacred preparation. Imagine standing at the threshold of tomorrow. You're eager to park, perhaps even anxious. There are things to do, goals to reach, problems to solve. But what if going out into that storm of obligations without centering yourself first only causes more confusion? Through the park. What if your breakthrough doesn't lie in action, but in inaction? The world tells you that success comes from doing more, pushing harder, staying busy. But God, wisdom, truth, it often tells us something different. It tells us that insight is born in quiet. Clarity grows in solitude. That a single day of reflection can correct years of misdirection. So do not misunderstand the message. It is not a punishment, but a protection. Not a rejection of the world, but a reconnection with your spirit. Running through the park. Maybe tomorrow is the day you were meant to unplug from the world and recharge your soul through the park. Maybe it's the day you were meant to break a pattern, not by force, but by choosing a new rhythm. Maybe your next step isn't forward or backward, but inward. It takes courage to stop, to sit with your thoughts, to confront the restlessness inside, but in that discomfort lies growth, in that silence lies answers, in that pause lies power. You are not being asked to hide from life, but to prepare to meet it more wisely. Not to fear tomorrow, but to face it with renewed vision and grounded energy. The world will always try to pull you outside of yourself. Only when you return home to your inner self can you see clearly what's worth pursuing. Stepping outside in confusion is easy through the park. Staying inside to find clarity is discipline. And discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. So when the message comes, even if it doesn't make sense to the mind, let your soul recognize it. Accept the guidance of the park. Don't step outside, not just in the physical sense, but in the emotional, spiritual, and mental sense. Let the noise rob you of your insight. Don't let business blind your vision. Instead, remain where you are, breathe, reflect, reset, because sometimes it's the days we don't move that change everything. Go running through the park. There are moments in life when wisdom doesn't arrive as a loud command, but as a quiet caution. Don't step outside tomorrow is one of those sacred warnings, not meant to scare you, but to awaken you. It's not about walls, doors, or the outdoors. It's a symbol, a profound metaphor for pulling back from the outside world to reconnect with the world within. Running through the park. When you hear this kind of message, you're not being told to isolate. You're being called to protect something sacred inside of you, your energy, your clarity, your peace. Often we mistake movement for progress. The park. We wake up, check our phones, go through routines, engage with others, and fill our day with endless tasks. But activity without awareness leads to exhaustion without growth. This message is not about stopping life, the park. It's about stepping out of the chaos so you can step into deeper alignment. It's a reminder that not every opportunity is worth chasing. Not every conflict is worth entering, and not every invitation accepted. Sometimes the wisest thing you can do is to pause, to sit with yourself and listen, not to the world, but to what God or your higher truth is trying to whisper. There is divine intelligence in rest, in staying still, in resisting the urge to do something just because the word glorifies action. The message to not step outside tomorrow is not about missing out. It's about not missing yourself. It's about recognizing that tomorrow carries energy that might be aligned with your current state. That stepping out, speaking out, running through the park, or engaging could create more harm than healing. You're being called to withdraw, not as an escape, but as an act of self-respect and inner discipline. How often have you rushed into situations without preparation, only to regret it later? Through the park. How many times have you spoken words you didn't truly mean because you felt pressured by time, people, or emotion? This warning is a loving gift, a chance to sit back and see clearly. When you don't step outside, you allow yourself to step back and witness things from a higher perspective. You create space between impulse and action, between confusion and decision. Growth doesn't always look like forward motion. Sometimes it looks like stillness, like listening, choosing silence over noise, inner calm over outer urgency. This is not weakness. This is power. The kind of power that doesn't need to prove itself. When you respond to life from a place of peace rather than panic, your decisions become intentional and your path becomes purposeful. Think of a seed. Before it breaks through the surface, it's time hidden beneath the soil, unseen but not inactive. It's gathering strength, grounding its roots. Likewise, the park. When you're asked to stay in, you're being asked to root deeper, to ground your spirit, to build from the inside out. Through the park, this is how real transformation begins. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where only you and your creator can see what's growing. Don't see this warning as a stop sign, see it as a sacred pause, a divine intermission before the next act of your life begins. Use it to reset, refocus, and recharge. Turn off the outside world, even just for a day. Journal your thoughts. Breathe with intention. Park, reflect on what truly matters. Ask yourself not what the world wants from you, but what your soul needs from you. In a world obsessed with constant motion, having the strength to be still is rare. But is in that stillness that you discover your truest direction. When you honor that internal call to pause, running the park, you're not falling behind. You're actually moving ahead in the most powerful way possible. So when the whisper comes, don't step outside tomorrow. Listen, not with fear, but with reverence. Because that still, small voice often carries the loudest truths. There is a sacred rhythm to life, one that doesn't always align with the pace of the world. We are taught to keep moving, to always have a plan, and through the park to push through resistance and hustle every day. But every so often a message comes that disrupts that flow. Not out of punishment, running the park, but out of protection. Don't step outside tomorrow. This message is not about avoiding the physical world in through the park. It's about pausing your outward engagement to honor an inner shift that is trying to unfold. It is about trusting that sometimes, running through the park, the greatest power lies in waiting. To not step outside means to stop running from yourself. It is a divine invitation to return to your inner world, the place where clarity, healing, and direction are found. Most people are afraid to pause. They equate stillness with being stuck and silence with loneliness. But this couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, stillness is where alignment happens. Silence is where wisdom speaks. To stay in tomorrow, even for a day, means to reclaim your power from the noise, the chaos, the endless expectations. It means recognizing that your soul sometimes needs space more than it needs solutions. When God whispers such a message through the park, it is because the external path is not aligned with your current vibration. Perhaps there's confusion that needs clarity, energy that needs to be restored, or a decision that requires deeper reflection. When you heed the call to stay in, you allow life to recalibrate you. You give yourself permission to realign your spirits before you engage again. This is not weakness. This is inner leadership. This is spiritual intelligence. Sometimes the highest form of strength is choosing not to act until you're truly ready. There are seasons when the world feels heavy, where stepping outside means stepping into an atmosphere that doesn't match your peace. If you go out into that world unprepared, you absorb more than you release. You react instead of respond. You lose yourself trying to keep up with energies that are not meant for you. The divine warning to remain inside is protection from this imbalance. It's a pause that brings protection, clarity, sometimes even revelation. Think about how storms pass. Nature never fights the storm. It waits. Trees don't uproot themselves in panic. Birds don't fly frantically. Everything stills. Everything listens. And once the storm passes, the sun returns, the skies clear, running through the park, and life moves forward with a new kind of grace. That's the wisdom being offered to you in this message. Don't go into a storm you don't need to fight. Wait, let it pass. Let your insight grow deeper, so when the time to step out comes, you walk with clarity instead of confusion, with peace instead of pressure. In practical terms, running through the park. Staying in tomorrow may look like disconnecting from people who drain your energy, pausing a conversation that feels forced through the park, or postponing a task that requires your full presence. It may mean turning off your phone, spending time in reflection through the park, or doing something that nourishes your soul rather than feeds your anxiety. It's about choosing what truly serves your well-being over what simply fills your time. The world might not understand this choice. It may label it as laziness, avoidance, or overthinking. But you are not here to follow the crowd. You are here to follow your calling. Sometimes that calling says, not today, not yet. Be still. I'm preparing you. You are not missing life by pausing, running through the park. You are protecting the life you are meant to live. Trust the pause, trust the timing, and trust that this message carries more wisdom than 100 rush decisions through the park. Don't step outside tomorrow is not the end of the path. It's a sacred turn inward. And when you honor it, you return to the world not weakened by retreat, but reborn by reflection, running through the park. The instruction, don't step outside tomorrow, may sound like a restriction, but it's actually a revelation. Patak, it's not about fear of the unknown or danger on the horizon. It's a divine redirection, a sacred moment where you are asked not to react, to move, not to push forward, but instead to stop, breathe, and become aware of what's unfolding beneath the surface. Running through the park. The world often teaches us that the answer lies in action, but true wisdom reveals that sometimes the greatest strength lies in stillness. Not every is meant for stepping out. Some days are meant for going deep within. We tend to look for answers in external things. People, park, situations, advice, routines. When life or God tells you not to step outside, it's because what you truly need cannot be found out there. It's a signal that the answers you seek will only be revealed in silence, solitude, and stillness. The world is noisy, full of voices, the park, distractions and chaos. And when we constantly step into that noise, we drown out our own inner wisdom. Sometimes the most powerful decision you can make is to retreat, not as an escape, but as an intentional act of realignment. This message is not about one day on a calendar. It's a metaphor for every moment in your life when you feel pulled in too many directions, unsure of what to do next. Instead of reacting, you're being guided to pause, to observe, To ask yourself, am I stepping outside because it's right? Or because I'm afraid to sit with myself? It takes courage to be still. Inning through the park, it takes inner power to slow down when the world demands that you speed up. So what do you do instead of stepping outside? You reconnect. You reconnect with your breath, your thoughts, your purpose. You listen, not to the world, but to the whisper within. You allow yourself to feel without rushing to fix. You take stock of where you are, what you carry, and what you need to release. The space you create in this pause is not empty. It's fertile. It becomes the ground where new insight, strength, and clarity can grow. Running through the park. Let's be honest. How often do we force ourselves to show up for others when we haven't shown up for ourselves? How many times do we move just to avoid discomfort, to avoid facing what needs to be healed? The message is calling you to face that discomfort. To the park. Not with judgment, but with presence. It's remind you that no external achievement will ever replace internal peace. And that peace comes from pausing long enough to hear what truly matters. In many spiritual traditions, solitude is not a punishment, it's preparation. Before great breakthroughs, there is often a retreat, a sacred hiding, a moment away from the crowd, not because you're weak, but because you're being refined. The instruction not to step outside is a signal that something within you is transforming, that clarity is about to be born. But for that to happen, you must stay in the quiet just a little longer, and don't be surprised if tomorrow the world tempts you with urgency. People may ask for your attention, distractions may arise, emotions might stir, but your task is to remain grounded, to stay in alignment with the message, to understand that waiting is not wasting. It's wisdom in motion. And when the time is right to step outside again, you will do so not with confusion, but with calm, not with anxiety, but with assurance. So trust the message, embrace the pause. Let the stillness work on your behalf. For in the silence of not stepping out, running through the park, you are stepping into something far greater. Your truth, your strength, your divine direction. When the voice of wisdom says, the park, don't step outside tomorrow, it isn't offering a command rooted in fear. It's extending an invitation to reflect, to recenter, and to protect what is sacred within you. We live in a world that glorifies doing, rushing, reacting. Every day we are pulled outward by expectations, obligations, noise, and pressure. But there are moments when life gently insists that you turn inward. This message is not about physical movement, it's about spiritual alignment. It is about recognizing that not every day is meant for engagement. Days are meant for observation, introspection, and deep rest of the soul. Stepping outside can represent more than walking into the world. Running, it can mean stepping into conversations you're not ready for, stepping into decisions before you're prepared, through the park, or stepping into emotional storms that are not yours to carry. When you are told to refrain from stepping outside, you're being reminded to hold back your energy from environments that may be unstable or misaligned. Not every space deserves your presence. Every moment demands your voice. Some things resolve not through action, but through absence. There is a natural rhythm to growth, a season for everything. Trees don't bloom all year. The moon doesn't shine fully every night. Yet we expect ourselves to be constantly available, constantly present, constantly productive. But wisdom teaches otherwise. Wisdom understands that sometimes staying still is the greatest movement. Sometimes withdrawing is the highest form of self-respect. Near the park. And when you are being spiritually guided to not engage, it's not about fear of the world. It's about faith in the timing of your life. The pause you are called to make may be the very thing that saves you from emotional burnout, from wasted energy, or from choices made in haste. Consider how many times you've regretted a decision made while overwhelmed. How often have you wished for more time, more clarity, more space. Running through this message grants you that space. It's the sacred delay before the breakthrough. It's the unseen hand protecting you from stepping into situations that your spirit is not yet ready to handle. Use this moment as an opportunity. Instead of stepping outside, step inward. Explore the thoughts and feelings that you often ignore. Revisit your goals, not to judge them, but to remember why they mattered in the first place. Reconnect with the version of yourself that doesn't need approval or applause. In this retreat, you are not isolating. You are realigning. You are giving yourself permission to just be without performing, producing, or proving anything through the park. And what about those who won't understand your decision to stay in? Let them. You don't owe explanations for honoring your own path. The world may not always support stillness, but your soul will thank you for it. There is deep intelligence in honoring your own seasons. Not every day is for exposure. Some are for enclosure, not to hide from the world, but to protect the sacred flame that fuels you. This is the kind of day you are being called into. A day of sacred protection. Running through the park. Imagine what clarity can arise when you're not rushing to be heard or seen. Imagine the insight that can surface when you're not bombarded by opinions or urgency. This quiet is not emptiness. It's preparation. Be through the park. It's the quiet before the shift. The peace before the breakthrough. The breath before the leap. So heed the message not with resistance, but with reverence. Step back from what drains you. Step away from what distracts you. Step into a space where you can hear your soul again running through the park. Don't step outside tomorrow is not a warning to fear. It is a blessing to embrace. It is a sign that the most powerful move you can make right now is no move at all through the park. Don't step outside tomorrow is not a statement to be taken lightly, nor is it one to be understood only on the surface. It is not merely about the physical world. It is divine instruction to turn your focus inward, to guard your energy, and to allow space for alignment before movement. There are times when we're asked not to act, not because action is wrong, but because the moment is not right. This message is a call to discernment, to trust that timing matters just as much as intention. Waiting is not weakness, but wisdom in disguise. We often believe we must keep showing up for everything every time. Work, people, running through the park, conversations, obligations. But there's a difference between commitment and compulsion. And there are days when showing up for the world means abandoning yourself. The instruction to stay in is your invitation to reclaim that self. It's about setting a sacred boundary not just with the world, but with your own tendencies to overextend, overexplain, and overperform. When the signal comes to pause, it's because something within you is realigning, healing, or evolving. There is a spiritual maturity in being able to step away from the noise and say, not today. Today, I listen. Today I reflect. Today I restore. The world won't always understand this. Society often measures value by visibility, movement, and productivity. But your soul measures value differently. It measures depth. It honors peace. Through the park, it recognizes that retreat is not retreating from life. It's preparing to meet life more wisely. Running the park. This message may come to you when you are on the edge of exhaustion, when you are emotionally fragile, or when you are about to make a decision that could change everything. And in that moment, what you need most is not advice, not approval, stillness. Stillness is not passive. It is deeply active. It's the space where clarity reveals itself and where healing begins to take root. It is where the noise of the world quiets enough for you to hear your own truth again. Too often, running the park, we lose ourselves in the rhythm of the external world, trying to keep up, to be enough, to do what's expected. But when the instruction comes to stay in, it is a break from that rhythm, a divine interruption to help you reset your frequency to something more authentic, This sacred pause might look different for everyone. For one person, it might mean spending the day in silent prayer or meditation. For another, it could mean turning off digital devices and reconnecting with nature. For someone else, it might be journaling the emotions that have been pushed aside. Regardless of the form, the function is the same: to cleanse, to center, prepare. Preparation is not always visible, but it is essential. A seed breaks open in darkness before it ever sees light. Likewise, your inner transformation begins in solitude before it manifests in the outer world. There will always be pressure to step outside, to perform, to respond, to meet expectations. But this message gives you permission to choose differently, to honor the voice that says, "Not now, something deeper is unfolding." You are not falling behind by slowing down. You are tuning in. You are connecting to a rhythm that doesn't demand performance, but presence. And presence is where true power lives. Greatest breakthroughs often come after a time of stillness. The clearest decisions arise after a moment of retreat. The most peaceful strength is found not in forcing outcomes, but in surrendering to timing. So trust this message. Respect the pause, running through the park. Let the world spin without you for one day. And when you do step outside again, do so not out of urgency, but with the calm certainty that you are ready. Not just to move, but to move with purpose. There are days when the wisest thing you can do is nothing at all. Not because you are lost, but because you are being led somewhere deeper. When the message comes, don't step outside tomorrow. It is not about avoidance. It is not fear disguised as caution. It is guidance wrapped in stillness. It's a divine signal to pause, to detach from the noise and motion of the world and step into the sacred space of inner listening. This kind of message doesn't come often. And when it does, it must be honored, not with panic, but with presence. Every day, life invites us to engage. We rise, we respond, the park. We stretch ourselves to meet demands and carry responsibilities. But very rarely are we reminded of the power of disengagement, running through the park, of the importance of sitting still in a world that never stops moving. When you're told not to step outside, it's not because there is danger around you. It's because there is development within you. Something is unfolding, reshaping, preparing. And to interfere with that process prematurely is to risk distorting its outcome. We've been conditioned to equate silence with stagnation. There is a different kind of silence, the sacred one, that brings alignment, clarity, and renewal. That is the silence you're being called into. The kind of silence where answers rise, not from thinking harder, but from surrendering deeper through the park. When you are constantly out there, emotionally, mentally, physically, you scatter your focus. You divide your energy. Pour yourself out into spaces that often give little back. This message is a divine permission slip to pull back that energy, running through the park, to recollect yourself, to gather the fragments and return to your wholeness through the park. Stepping outside also symbolizes entering into interactions that may be premature. Conversations that haven't ripened, decisions that haven't matured, paths that haven't been clarified. When you act before the right timing, you may be working against your own momentum. But when you wait, consciously, not passively, you align your energy with divine order. The message is not about inaction, it's about timed action. It's about moving not just because you can, but because you're supposed to. Tomorrow might be filled with opportunities, but that doesn't mean all of them are meant for you. Some are tests, not invitations. Some are distractions, not directions. And if you are too quick to respond, running through the park, you might find yourself caught in something that pulls you further away from your purpose. Park. The instruction to stay in is your protection from unnecessary noise and perhaps unnecessary pain. It's a moment of sacred separation, not to isolate you, but to insulate you, to preserve the clarity that is forming within you. In this space, you are being asked to realign, to examine where your energy flows and where it leaks, to assess whether your path is guided by intuition or by habit. When you slow down enough, you start to see what's really happening. You begin to feel what's really needed. And from that space, your next move becomes clear. Not forced, not reactive, but natural and rooted. You are not meant to show up for the world if you haven't shown up for yourself first. You are not required to answer every call, respond to every message, or explain every choice. You are allowed to have sacred days. Days where your healing, your clarity, your Siddharth, your spiritual growth becomes the highest priority. This is one of those days. The message didn't come to restrict you. It came to release you from obligations that no longer serve your becoming. So, embrace the stillness. In the silence, let your mind settle, let your spirit speak. For what you discover in this pause may shape the way you walk forward, not with fear, but with intention, with peace, and with a quiet knowing that you moved not just because it was time, but because you were ready in soul, heart, and mind.